Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show, your daily fix of football chat here on STV. The main talking points tonight: the manager of the month says he won't quit as Celtic boss. That's despite a 2-1 defeat to Aberdeen up at Pittodrie last night. The Dons boss Derek McInnes says they remain the underdogs in the race for the title. And with Mark Warburton and Kenny Miller winning manager and player of the month respectively in the Championship, Dave King says Rangers are on the road to recovery. That's just a few of the talking points we'll be discussing tonight in the company of our bootroom guest, Hugh MacDonald of the Herald. Ruffy is there in fine fettle, and there's only one talking point really, and after today's press conference, the manager says he's not for quitting. Ronnie Deila, despite the 3-point gap now between Celtic and Aberdeen, he's going to stick at it.
Yeah, I think he will as well. I mean, there's no point, there's no possibility at all of him packing it in. The only question would be what the board do, and I think the message that's come from the board very consistently and strongly is that he stays. But that was always predicated on the fact of, will they give him Champions League money, give him a chance in the Champions League. There'll be a real period of reflection at the moment if the actual SPF title is up for grabs.
Yeah, the chief executive, I think, in some ways might have boxed himself in with that statement, Ruffy, that Hugh alluded to there, which is basically, we don't sack our managers, we back them. Well, he's going to have to back them all the way to the end of the season, and I think now, suddenly, Celtic fans are starting to get worried.
Yeah, I think they will back him to the end of the season. I think it finishes on the 21st of May. And then a decision will be made, but unfortunately he's put himself under so much pressure. He's going to be scrutinised at every game, and he'll have to do something fantastic, and the players as well. He's brought 22 players into the club, and you look at them and there's nothing jumps out and hits you as if though he could be one for the future, and that's what he keeps telling the supporters. Judge me next year, these players will be great players in 2 or 3 years, we'll be back with a big time. The supporters can't see it. The evidence of last night, the team selection, I thought, was all over the place.
I don't like to suggest anything to do with a manager losing the dressing room. Has he lost the fans?
I think there's a huge split in the fans, and I think the majority now are really sceptical about him. I mean, I'm just getting that from personal interaction and from social media, that there's a real scepticism at least about him. The fact as well, I think he realises and has realised for a while that he was on a slippery slope with the fans. As soon as he gave up the Ronnie roller, he knew that he wasn't the flavour of the month. But I think his worst attribute is that you never really feel that when his team meets adversity that it's going to overcome that. And that's a real... I mean, when you saw... I actually thought last night, I don't know if anybody agrees, but I thought for the first half an hour, Celtic were completely in control. Aberdeen, no threat at all, I thought, for the first half hour. And his goal came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But you would think good teams can say to themselves, well, we were in control, possession, etc., we'll hit it back. But see, once Hayes' goal went in, I think anybody with Celtic, sympathies was going, this is big trouble.
To be fair, that's the same old story, Ruffy. Celtic were in control in so many matches, and then the defence lets them down.
Yeah, the defence does let them down, but I agree with Hugh's point. What they've done is they've littered themselves with good players from other clubs. And these players have never ever come up against the criteria of going behind and having to dig them out a hole. Before Celtic had quality, I mean, the Celtic team of the past had all international, experienced international players who, when they went one behind, they knew what to do. They had individuals in the team who could turn it round. Unfortunately, this bunch that he's got, that he's brought in, are young players who have never experienced the situation of digging themselves out a hole, particularly in a Celtic jersey. And it's a big ask when you play with Rangers and Celtic, that you've got to have something extra. And a lot of them are just struggling to find that. When they're winning 2-0, 3-0, oh, it's fantastic. Give me the ball, now beating, give me the ball, I'll stroll about and make passes. The sign of a good player is when you're behind and you have to do something about it, and unfortunately they haven't got it in their makeup.
Yep, I mean, a lot of the players arrived with great hype. Let's look at the Aberdeen side that was selected by Derek McInnes last night, and as you can see, there's Aberdeen. For me, the one standout player in that team is wearing the number 11, Ruffy. I mean, he's the guy that makes it happen. The rest of them, no disrespect to them, are all much of a muchness, not what you would call top drawer players, which is great credit to Derek McInnes. He's got them organised and playing well.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is he's got confidence in his players to play two strikers, you know, and I think that was the big thing. He looked at the Celtic defence at the weekend. He saw that if you get wide and you get people at them, if you get balls in the box with an extra striker, you can cause them problems. And you're right, you know, he's built a team there. We keep talking about Alan Stubbs' side as well. He's had a lot of thought about the players he brought in. Shinnie was the first one because obviously what he can give in defence and in midfield as well. But I think he's bought well, and he's got a settled team there. If you look at the Celtic team, you know, when the next game comes up, there's no guarantee that the same 4 or 5 is going to be in the team because it's chopped and changed so much.
Well, Hugh, look at the Celtic side that took to the field at Batodry. I mean, I'm looking at the team and I'm saying to myself, I mean, there is nothing there that would suggest to you there are players that, you know, out with Brown, who's got international experience, Lustig's got international experience, and Gordon, the rest of them, again, much of a muchness.
Well, yeah, and I think the Malays, it's a downgrade in the standards overall. I mean, I talked last night to somebody who was telling me what a really good team Aberdeen were, and I went, right, I've watched good Aberdeen teams. This is a team that might be capable of winning this title, don't get me wrong, but how many players in that Aberdeen team would earn a living in the Championship in England? In the Championship, I'm not talking about the EPL. How many would earn a living in the Championship? I would say Johnny Hayes, and then it would dry up.
Yeah.
The Celtic team have now got the two best players last night for me. Was a player up front who admittedly has improved, but a League One team at the time, Wolves, who were in League One at the time, got rid of him back to Scotland.
And there was no clamour for his signature.
No clamour at all. No clamour in England. Another one is a left back who's 4. You know, he's just got. You know, he's getting measured for his first blazer at school, and he's the second best player on the team. There's too many guys. I thought I was huge. I wasn't disappointed because I've watched Scott Brown over the years, but Scott Brown last night was just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're committing daft fouls. You're not in any way progressing the team in any way. And the only time I thought Celtic were in any way trying to get back into the game was when they abandoned all pretence of playing real football at all, banged the ball along to Kazim Richards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to offer you something here. This is a big gamble from this board. Because, you know, if Aberdeen go neck and neck with them, I mean, they are going to have to back them all the way to the end of the season. And there are two elements that I think might just edge it. They could limp over the line and get the title here, Hugh, on the basis that Aberdeen have had 3 good runs and faltered. So they might be able to bank on that. But would you bank on Celtic not slipping up again?
Well, the Celtic would look at the record and say, listen, see in the league, we don't get beat often. We've only been beaten by Motherwell and we've been beaten by Aberdeen, you know, twice. So we don't get beat often, so there'll be a bit of consolation in that. But what they will be relying on, the big game at the weekend, if you forget about the Scottish Cup, Aberdeen St Johnstone. I mean, St Johnstone's a team that beat Aberdeen 5-1 at Pittodrie. Aberdeen have got to lay down a marker, say, yeah, we did this on Wednesday, but we can go on with it.
Yeah, OK, Ruffy, let's look at the league table. Give us your thoughts on it then. I'm not going to ask you, can they win it? Will Aberdeen win the title?
I think the evidence will be in the next month, you know, with the games that are coming up. Hugh's touched on one. I think that Celtic have next 2 or 3 games coming up are easier than Aberdeen's, but the good thing for me is that the gap is catchable and it keeps it all going to the end of the season.
Yeah, and just briefly on this, Hugh, you're talking about a saving grace for Celtic could be the fact that they've got so many players at their disposal that they could stumble their way to this title with that manager.
Yeah, I think they could. I mean, I think they will. I think they actually, you know, if somebody says to me, I think they will win the title, but I do not think that answers the pertinent questions at all, Peter.
Yep. Well, you can give us your view. Do you think it's time for a change at Celtic, or do you think they should stick with Ronnie Deila? At Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy, and you can also give us your reaction on peterandruffy.com as well. So that's the game. There's only 3 points of a gap, and Celtic's next match is in the Scottish Cup against East Kilbride. Surely no slip-ups there. We will talk about Rangers and the manager and the player of the month coming up after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin, here on STV, and our bookroom guest is Hugh MacDonald of the Herald newspaper. Let's talk Rangers. Congratulations to the Championship Manager of the Month in Mark Warburton and the Player of the Month in Kenny Miller. So a double for Rangers to celebrate, Hugh.
Yeah, I don't think they've been. They've racked up big scores, but certainly against Dumbarton as well. But there's been a feeling there that Rangers have been kind of stagnating over the last couple of months. I'll be really interested in the game on Saturday. Kilmarnock Scottish Cup game, good test of them. Good test of how the players are going on. Miller just keeps producing for Rangers. I've always felt that he was never the most technically gifted player, but nobody could ever doubt his authority on the park in motivational terms, and then crucially, I think, in the dressing room.
Yeah, albeit it's the Championship, Ruffy, but Rangers are still winning games, as Hugh said, even if they're not playing at the absolute top level and the way Mark Warburton wants them to play.
No, you can see where the vision is. You can see where he wants to be. With the players he's brought in, obviously Halloran and the two other boys that are coming in the summer. So he's gradually getting near, where he is. The big talking point is what is the difference going to be when they eventually get there? And he's talking about another 5 or 6 players coming in. I'm sure the Rangers supporters will be looking at the quality of that. The players that are coming in, we've already had a go at the Celtic quality that's coming in, and it just remains to see what brings in. But as it stands just now, they're in good fettle, and with Kenny Miller, you can see why he was given an extra year in his contract, because put the ball in the box, he's an 18-yard striker, and he'll score anything that's coming about. He'll be there or thereabouts.
Well, let me pick up on that point then, Ruffy, because Dave King has released a statement today, Hugh, just basically, in his mind, offering transparency to the Rangers support, who clearly were starting to ask questions about whether they were going to get any players in that window of any note when you miss out on Diagouraga, and then O'Halloran is thrown into doubt. Billy King comes in, makes an immediate impact, so he's mentioned new players, the management contracts, Auchenhowie needed improved, Ibrox, and of course the Sports Direct loan needed to be dealt with, and that's the reason why they've got the 2 players in. But over and above that, he reckons that they're run now in the right way and they're heading in the right direction. What's your take on it?
I think it's a smart move. I think it was the correct thing to do and come out and give a statement, because I think there was general rumblings behind this, amongst the fans saying that if they hadn't got Halloran, I think it would have been, they'd been shouting and bawling and breaches of the peace. I mean, because Dave King has made himself hostage to fortune by, talking about I'll invest my children's inheritance and north of 30 million quid, and you're sitting in a transfer window and you're saying, wait a minute, you've not put your hand in your pocket here. Now, we all know there's reasons behind all this and there's other things going on.
Yeah.
So I think it was the Halloran thing took the sting out of it a bit, I think. And I think this statement is just to reinforce to the fans who are maybe still saying, listen, there's other things we're doing, we're investing in personnel in Auchenhowie, and we're also, doing up Ibrox. And, of course, we've also got this big battle with the Sports Direct, which shows no signs of abating.
Yeah. With that in mind, Ruffy, I still think in the summer will be the big test. I mean, apart from obviously the test that will come if they are in the Premiership, I think the manager will know himself they'll need a good 4 or 5 new players over and above what they have at the moment.
Yeah, but it depends where that 4 or 5's coming from. So far, the clubs that are identifying, like Akin, Stanley, taking players on loan and that kind of thing, I don't think that's the kind of, once it comes to it, I don't think that's the kind of players that the Rangers supporters will expect, you know, but Hugh's already touched on the 30 million, you know, you would expect better players than that to come in, and I have to say, I know Celtic are struggling a wee bit now. I would like to think they'd have to bring in some much better players to challenge Aberdeen and Celtic at the top of the SPFL.
But it's such an imprecise science, Pierre, isn't it? I mean, because we looked at St Johnstone, you know, against Rangers early in the season, and St Johnstone been very clever and, you know, tactically aware, using O'Halloran's pace, McLean's ability to hold the ball up, and really gave Rangers a lesson, and, you know, it was comfortable at the end. Yet, by the same token, the team that's pushing Celtic to the limits in the title race were knocked out by a Championship team 2-0, and quite easily, you know, dismissively, almost. It's very difficult to know quite what the quality difference is, but Rangers can't take a gamble in thinking that it's minor.
Okay, let's look at the cup game then. Can you see Rangers getting past Kilmarnock? Lee McCulloch has come out today and said that, you know, you can tell the confidence is as low as he has seen it in the dressing room.
I thought you were going to say you can see Celtic and past Tisco Bride, and I'm going, I don't know.
That tough question is coming later.
Well,
I'm on the two cuddles before I give you the hook.
Again, this goes back to what is the gap? What is the gap? Is the gap significant? And is, you know, Kilmarnock being, you know, not the worst team in the Premier League, but the 11th best, shall we say? Is there a gap in class and pace and skill and technique between players playing the Championship? I suspect not, but I still think it'll be a test of Rangers, and it may not be the best game of the weekend, but I think it's the most intriguing game of the weekend.
Yeah, well, the best game of the weekend is quite simply at Tynecastle, Ruffy, because Hearts against Hibs. The only way you could see that match if you haven't got a ticket, albeit obviously with the broadcasters, if you're thinking I want to sample the atmosphere, you'd have to literally climb up the biggest street in Edinburgh to get a look in. Yeah,
but if you've got a ticket for that game, it'll be a fantastic atmosphere in the stadium. Both teams playing particularly well, and new players on show as well. You can't guarantee what the selections are going to be, but I think it's going to be tense, and I really hope it goes through trouble-free, because sometimes these games can get a bit tousy and something silly happens. So I hope that isn't the case, and I hope on Monday night we're talking about the football and nothing else.
Yeah, who's the better footballing side?
Oh, there's what hostage stuff. Is that a grenade in front of you?
Hold on a minute. You said to me, I've got a couple of nice ones, and I thought, there you are. So let's see if you're going out to Edinburgh in the next couple of weeks.
I think technically, in the way they go about their business, Hibs, there you go. I think Hibs technically will want to play a different game from Hearts. Hearts will be more pragmatic. I think they'll be. I don't buy into all this Hearts, you know, bully boy Hearts stuff. I think that's rubbish. But I think Stubbs, sometimes to his detriment as well, wants his team to play, some would say overplay. So if you're talking about sheer technical, just playing the ball about, well, Hibs. But if you're talking about football team as in who's the team more likely to win, I think Hearts.
Yeah, well, on that point, and I'm not going to brand them as bully boys, because I think that's an unfair tag as well, but I do think they can muscle Hibs out of it.
Yeah, they did it. Well, they nearly did it with Aberdeen. I mean, Robbie Neilson has obviously got certain players in that midfield area, and a good manager will look at the Hibs side and look at the ball, the players, you know, that you would want to stop, and that's what Hearts are good at. Hearts early on in a game can put people out the game, like Liam Henderson, McGee, he'll identify McGinn, you know, and it'll be interesting to see which players are marking that. I agree, they're not a bullying team, they're hard working side, they shut you down and they make sure you're in a game, and I think that's what they'll try and do. They'll try and knock Hibs off their stride.
And I think interestingly as well, they've had the best transfer window out of any Scottish team, Hearts. I think the quality and the potential they've brought in has been bang on. I really think they've had a good window.
Yeah, better than Hibs.
Yep, I think Cowie is a really good, technically gifted player, a Scottish internationalist coming up here, and I think Suter really. I thought 2 years ago there was, you know, £1 million bids allegedly for Sunderland for him. To get him for less than 200,000 quid
Yeah.
at his age. I think he's got more than a chance.
Yeah, don't believe everything you read, Hugh.
No, I know. I don't even believe everything I write.
I know, that's exactly what I was going to say to you. Alleged bids, of £1 million. Where have we heard that before? So gut feeling on this then for the derby?
Just Hearts.
Just and no more.
No,
Should I bother?
No, I
is
think,
it 5? Is it 6?
No, I think if Hibs could just dig out a draw there, I think that would be a good result.
Who's the match winner then? Because, Stokes, everybody's been raving about the fact he's come in, he scored 2 goals in 2 games.
Yeah, I would go for Stokes. Obviously scored the other night there. I think Stokes will be somebody that the Hearts dressing room will be talking about. They'll have to do something because he has got a bit of quality.
Who's the match winner for Hearts?
I think Hearts as a collective is the match winner. I think they're just so strong throughout their whole team. And I just think collectively they're just better than Hibs.
Okay, listen, it's been an absolute joy having Hugh here. A couple of soft questions first half and then give him a dig in the second half just to get him going. Thanks to Hugh MacDonald for joining us here in the programme and to Ruffy. It's been all about Aberdeen and that title challenge, and of course Celtic, as Ronnie Dylan mentioned, are still at the top of the league. You can't sack a manager at the top of the table, can you?